You're listening to the Toolstation Western League podcast with Ian Knockholds and Tom Hiscott.
Welcome, listeners, to the Toolstation Western League podcast with me, Ian Knockholds, and I'm delighted to introduce on the line the editor of the Western League Bulletin. It is, of course, Tom Hiscott. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. Good to be back. How about yourself? How you doing?
I'm very well. I'm very well indeed. The weather, as we know, has been playing havoc with our fixture list, but I did manage to watch a little bit of football at the weekend. I went to Melksham Town. I've been flirting with my mistress in the Southern League
once more.
But you know, given the quality of their stadium, I thought I was pretty much guaranteed some football there. Of course, there was a very big game in Wiltshire in the Western League, which I probably should have been at given the podcast, but it's just that little bit too far with the kids. We don't want them dropping off to sleep in the car because it plays havoc with Saturday evening's television viewing. So we don't want to be doing that. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the Southern League or indeed Saturday evening television viewing. We are here, of course, to talk about Western League football. On tonight's podcast, we have Dan Langdon, the manager of Bitton. It's been long overdue that we speak to Dan. And also I'm delighted to welcome back to the Western League podcast John Bowers, the chairman of Sherborne Town. Sherborne going incredibly well in the First Division. We'll hear all about that later in the podcast. But we'll kick off with the matches that took place on Saturday the 23rd of November. We're starting the Premier Division and we will start at Bitton. Wellington were the visitors. Wellington they've been in a really poor run of form. And unfortunately, Tom, for them, that continued on Saturday.
Yeah, they're at the wrong end of the table, aren't they? Wellington flirting with the bottom, and unfortunately, yeah, another defeat for them on Saturday afternoon a bit, and probably not all that unsurprising, to be honest. A couple of first half goals split the sides in this one. It was Alex Grimshaw, and then a brilliant individual goal from Asa Corrick, doubled Bitton's advantage. And they held on for a 2-0 win. So unfortunately, another defeat for Wellington, but Bitton picking up a crucial 3 points.
Well, of course, both of those goals, as Tom has just said, coming in the first half. So I started my interview with Bitton manager Dan Langdon by asking him whether he felt the game had been wrapped up by half-time.
Yeah, it was, mate, to be fair. A good performance from us. Start to finish Saturday, worthy winners, and disappointing fact, really, we didn't go and get a few more goals, but a superb goalkeeping display from our number one kept it at 2-0.
Now, you're currently 8th in the table. Are you frustrated by the start your side have made to this season?
To be honest with you, I am. But more in the essence of the way our season's panned out in terms of start, stop. You know, we had a 3-week break at one point in the season, so early on, so it's hard to keep any run of form or momentum going when that's happening, and obviously with the weather it's played a factor as well. So not too disappointed in the way the boys have been, in truth. It's just more a case of we found it hard to keep a level of consistency, really. So
that those breaks in play for you have affected your momentum?
Yeah, you know, when you're playing every week and the players are keeping their match fitness up, and when you're winning games, winning becomes a habit. But when you're start, stop, it's hard to keep that level of momentum going, really. So that's what it's been. It's just been a little bit rusty in the games we've lost, where we've had sort of breaks in our season. So disappointing, really.
Now, you came so close to winning the league last season. Was that your ambition this season? Was it to win the title?
Absolutely. And it still remains that. You've got to remain optimistic, and we're not certainly prepared to chuck the towel in just yet and give up. So we'll keep going and keep fighting, and you never know what can happen. Football's a funny old game, so for us, we just keep going and try and get some wins for ourselves and hope other results go our way. So we haven't given up yet.
Now, we would have expected Parkway to be strong this season. Obviously, like yourselves, they went very close at the end of last season. But are there any other sides, perhaps sides that you've played recently, that have surprised you in terms of how competitive they've been?
I think, to be honest with you, every team in this league is competitive. It's a tough league, and for me, it's definitely the toughest it's been. So it's hard to say, really, who I think are real contenders for it. But on the offset, I would agree with you with Plymouth being the strongest side, and they're organised, and for me they're the best side we played this year and last. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go all the way this year and take the title.
I'm going to have a chat with you about Plymouth in a second, but some of the teams that find themselves above you at this stage of the season, and I think we're rightly, there's plenty more football to be played, but, the likes of Brislington, Clevedon and Hallen as well, that just goes to show that sides that perhaps have traditionally sort of been in mid-table or towards the bottom have been able to make that step up this season and find a level of consistency and good form that perhaps previously hasn't been there. I mean, I think a lot of people who follow Western League football would talk about the strength of the Devon sides, but, I mean, those three are from the Bristol area, so, I mean, there's quite a lot of strength in depth that's come from the league this season that perhaps we weren't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the players both clubs have signed, Hallen and Brislington in particular. They made some pretty impressive signings. So I'm not surprised to see them where they are, to be honest. And Clevedon were a young side last year also, and I did say last season I thought Clevedon would be there or thereabouts this year. So I'm not surprised with either three, really.
Now, you played Parkway recently, and I can remember talking about the game on the podcast because it was a 7-goal thriller, and I made the point that, normally when two big sides meet or where there's expectation, they can often cancel each other out. Now, of course, I wasn't able to get to the game, so I didn't actually see how it panned out. But, I mean, from your perspective, was it the humdinger that the scoreline suggests?
Yeah, I mean, there's not many, from our perspective, many teams that go to Parkway and score 3 goals and not win. So on the day, I do feel we gifted them too many soft goals. But it was a great game, and I think a point apiece would have been fair. If not, without being biased, I feel on the day we'd to win the game. But like I said, football can be harsh at times, so...
Obviously, you're in good goal-scoring form down there, and I know it's a place that plenty of Western League sides find a very difficult place to go, not least because of the vociferous support that Parkway enjoy at their home games. But, I mean, what is it perhaps... was the defensive performance something that, on reflection, that, you've looked to address after the game?
Yeah, I mean, it was just... It's individual errors, and unfortunately that happens. So we can't really go away and work on much on the defensive front because, like I said, it was just little individual errors which unfortunately happen. And a side like Parkway, especially players such as Carter, when any mistake you make against them, you get punished. So to go there, you've got to be 110% for 90+ minutes. You can't switch off for a second.
You've got Cribs in the Vase on Saturday, and given that there's still quite, you've got ground to make up in the league if you're going to challenge. I know you're optimistic about doing that, but does that mean that perhaps the Vase takes on greater significance for you this season?
Yeah, I mean, the Vase, both athletic competitions, a club perspective and certainly a manager's perspective, are ones you want to go as far as you can anyway. At the end of the day, you've got Wembley is the potential prize at the end, isn't it? So the Vase is one we'd always like to go as far as we could, to be honest, so we'll be certainly up for it Saturday.
Because you have got good cup pedigree, haven't you? We shouldn't forget that you were the winners of the Tool Station equivalent of the Charity Shield, which is not something that Western League sides have been able to boast very frequently.
No, that's right. And that day we started that game quite slow and found ourselves on the back foot, but came out again worthy winners. So yeah, cup football is something we take seriously. So with all competitions, we don't play to make it numbers, we play for success. So yeah, Saturday will certainly be a good one.
And the week after that, you've got Roman Glass in the league. Now, I've been saying on the podcast that I think Roman Glass are in a false league position. Perhaps they're not, and actually it just goes to show how strong the Western League Premier Division is from top to bottom. But they've only lost once in their last 6 matches. So just because you're taking on sort of one of the more unfancied sides, shall we say, it doesn't mean you can take anything for granted in that game, does it?
No, absolutely not. And again, like themselves, they've made some good signings. I said Andy Gurney going to be there to give us a hard game, really. So we should definitely take it for granted. So we've got to be at our best every week. So there's no sort of easy games.
And my thanks to Dan for his time. Now we move on to Cadbury Heath, and they took on high-flying Clevedon Town.
Yeah, and there was there was late drama in this one. It eventually ended in a 2-2 draw. Clevedon managing to score an injury time equaliser to rescue a point. Matt Huxley had been the star of the show for the Heath in the first half, scoring twice to put his side ahead at the interval. But Clevedon, as it looked like they were going to fall to a 2-1 defeat, they managed to get one more opportunity, and it was Elliot Nicholson converting a cheeky backheel in the final few minutes to secure a point. And unfortunately for Cadbury Heath, letting 2 points slip, but that was how it stayed, and it was 2-2 draw between Cadbury Heath and Clevedon.
Now, our next game features two clubs that, of course, have been on this season's podcast. Cribs we had last week, and they were facing up to Bridgewater Town, who they'd taken on earlier in the season. Now, the Bridgewater Town manager, I can remember, Carl Baggerly, he told me that Cribs always give them a difficult game, and I think that would be fair to say that was the case on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. A tight contest, eventually ending in a 3-2 win for Bridgewater. All 5 of the goals coming in a frantic first half. Bridgewater shooting out the blocks, Jack Taylor flicking the ball home after just 10 minutes to put them ahead. But then Cribs had a really impressive couple of minutes and 2 goals from Ed Harrison, both supplied by crosses from Joe White. So those two teaming up well, scoring in the 25th and 27th minute to put Cribs ahead. But then Bridgewater had a brilliant spell of their own just before the break, and it was a couple of headed goals for them from Tom Ellis and then David O'Hare, giving them a 3-2 advantage at the interval, and they managed to hold out in the second half, and that's how it stayed. So a good battle, and a good 3 points for Bridgewater away at Cribs.
Next up is Hallen against Westbury. Now, on last week's podcast, this was my game to watch because I'd seen these two play last season, and it was a tight affair, even though Westbury at the time were flying. Well, Hallen, on this occasion, are the ones who were flying, and so it proved on Saturday.
Yeah, coming from behind to beat Westbury and extend their winning run in all competitions to 5 matches now. So Hallen, as you say, a fantastic run. And but it was Westbury who went ahead, as I said. Ricky Holbert left unmarked at the back post to put them ahead on the half hour. But Hallen managed to get back on level terms pretty soon after. And it was Matt Davis heading home a corner to make it 1-1. And then in the 63rd minute, an excellent strike from Kyle Thomas. He's having a pretty good season for Hallen. He managed to beat the Westbury keeper from long range. And as I say, in the 63rd minute, and they managed to hold out. So it was Hallen 2, Westbury 1.
And finally, in the Premier Division on Saturday, Street took on a rampant Bradford Town.
Yeah, indeed, another big win for Bradford on their travels. A 5-0 triumph at Street to reclaim top spot after Parkway, I think, had gone ahead on goal difference during the midweek games. Bradford 5-0 victors away at Street, going ahead pretty early on through Will Hailston, with Gary Higdon then doubling their tally soon after. And then there was further goals from Lewis Powell and Higdon again to make it 4-0, with Tyson Pollard then adding the finishing touches just after the hour mark. But a pretty convincing and comfortable afternoon's work for Bradford. And as you say, doing really well. 12 wins from their 14 league games so far. So, Bradford 5-0 winners away at Street.
Another job, another saving. Brought to you by Toolstation.
Is this all the receipts?
Yes, boss.
For everything we got from Toolstation?
Yeah, why?
I just thought we'd spend a lot more than this.
Oh, no. We got all the best brands too. Makita, Santex, Karcher, Nest.
Top job, top saving.
With over 15,000 trade-quality products at prices that are hard to beat, we're here to save you on every job. At toolstation.com and all 340 branches.
Now moving on to the First Division, and our opening game saw Almondsbury taking on Warminster Town, and on this occasion the Wiltshire club brought their cup form with them.
Yeah, it seems like it. Almondsbury have been doing all right recently, scoring quite a few goals, but not to be on Saturday afternoon. Goalless for them, but Warminster bagging 3, so a big win. Another team to win on their travels as well. Good, some good away victories this weekend. Francois Allen and Ian Jeffrey, he's having a good run of form. They were both on target, and it was 3-0 win for Warminster away at Almondsbury.
Now 2 more Wiltshire sides. It's a Wiltshire derby, a Wiltshire Classico, if you will. The biggest gate by quite some way. in the Western League on Saturday occurred at Corsham Town, where the visitors were Calne and the visitors took the spoils.
They did, yeah. So if you're obviously as you say, the big crowd, 210 there on Saturday, which is really good to see. And obviously, if you take away the ground hop weekend, this is amongst the best we've seen in the First Division this season. Sorry, and pretty good game by all accounts. Calne eventually running out 2-0 victors to maintain their lead at the top of the table. And the first goal coming in first half stoppage time from former Corsham forward Jamal Chevalano. He had a good few spells at Corsham, but he was on target for Calne in this one, putting them ahead, putting the away side in front at the break, and then with 8 minutes left on the clock, they finally wrapped things up, and it was well worth waiting for. A 35-yard effort from Nathan Davis, giving the Lily Whites a 2-0 advantage, and that was how it stayed. So a good win for Calne away at Corsham.
Now, did you see that goal on Twitter? I think that there's been some footage of the belter on social media.
I think I have stumbled across it, and it's quite terrific. So I think people need to check that one out if they're able to find it. Yeah.
We have to take our hat off, of course, to that for that effort. But I must confess, I've been incredibly impressed all season. We did talk about this when I interviewed the Corsham manager. But their social media coverage is absolutely fantastic, and the footage that gets put up of their games, and of course on this occasion the rather galling prospect of having to show one of the best goals undoubtedly that you'll see in Western League football, but it was the Corsham editor who was producing the final output, and in fairness to him, he did a fantastic job. I mean, we had Tom, different angles of the actual goal going in. Now, I mean, for us to say that at Western League level, I think is, well, we should really doff our collected hat to Corsham Town for that one.
I was about to say exactly that. Yeah, it's really. I mean, it's taking it to another level, really. So it's good to see what's going on out there, and hopefully other clubs maybe can join in, and that makes a better product for everybody, doesn't it?
Absolutely right. Now, the next match we're going to feature, well, actually, it wasn't my pick of last week, because I thought it was well worth watching out for, but I didn't think it would be a repeat of last season's encounter between these two sides. Longwell Green Sports, we had them on the podcast last week, took on Devizes Town. Devizes have been in a poor run of form, it would be fair to say, at the bottom of the table. Longwell Green are absolutely flying. We speculated on last week's podcast that the thing about the First Division is that, of course, it throws up shocks and it throws the form book out the window. Could Devizes cause another shock? Well, I didn't really think that they could, particularly away at Longwell Green, but they very nearly did, didn't they, Tom?
They very nearly did, and unfortunately for Devizes, their hard work was undone in the final few minutes. They came close to picking up a shock victory, really. Looking obviously at the table, these two opposite ends. Devizes, as you say, tough run. I think they're without a league win since the end of September, so this would have been a very welcome 3 points, and they came exceedingly close. Charlie Buckingham putting them ahead 5 minutes before half time. Away at Longwell Green, who are up in the top few spots, up to second, and that's only thanks to a really late smash and grab from them. Twice scoring in the closing stages. As I said, Liam Oswin levelling the scores in about the 88th minute, and then it was Tom Welling not soon after managed to knock another one in, and it was Longwell Green running out 2-1 victors. Bit of late heartbreak for Devizes, really, but Longwell Green continue to march on their merry way. 9th league win, and as I say, up in second spot, and doing really, really well.
Now, what was the name of that Devizes goal scorer again, Tom?
Charlie Buckingham.
What do you think he's known as in the dressing room? What would you think his nickname is?
Something to do with the Palace? I don't know.
What about the Duke?
The Duke. That's probably what I was looking for.
You like that? It's probably
like that.
Not. But I mean, I'm a big fan of these things, as you probably know, because you've had to suffer it over the last 3 years. Anyway, we'll move swiftly on to our final feature game in the First Division. Sherborne Town took on Ashton and Backwell United. To the victor, the spoils in this game, because Ashton and Backwell could have gone above high-flying Sherborne Town if they'd have won this game, but they didn't. Sherborne secured the 3 points in emphatic style.
Yeah, another one of our high flyers. Sherborne joining Longwell Green and Calm in the top three. As you say, smashing 5-0 victory over Ashton and Backwell. They've won now 5 of their last 6, so absolutely fantastic form for the Zebras. Ashley Clark and Joe Smith each scoring twice, and then Alex Murphy, a man in real good form. He managed to get among the goals once again, and within them a pretty comfortable 5-0 win. So fantastic run continues for Sherborne.
That's their 4th win on the bounce. But perhaps what was most impressive about Saturday's result was the scale of the victory, and that's where I started my conversation with Sherborne Town Chairman John Bowers.
I'm still excited about it because it was one of those games going into our closest rivals. You were always a little bit apprehensive, and we did play well on the day, I must admit. And so did they, to be fair. We defended first 20 minutes, they were the better team, and we defended really, really well. And ran out 5-0 victors. Couldn't have been a better weekend.
Because they are a good side, aren't they? I mean, notwithstanding the fact that, obviously they're close to you in the table, they're a footballing side as well. So you haven't scored 5 goals this season, it would be fair to say. So to get it against them, really, everything must have gone right for the boys on the day.
There was a slight intervention at 2-0. The good old Simbin entered the game, and they had 2 players Simbin at the same time. Which I've not seen before, and I've only seen the Simbin once before. And maybe that was the turning point in the game. It was 2-0. We scored once during that 10-minute interval, but it sort of broke their rhythm, and they never really recovered from it. And, take nothing away from our lads. We still played well. We pushed the ball about and looked really good going forward. So the Simbin did have its little bit to play on the day.
Well, talking about the goals you've scored is absolutely fair, but actually we should also be talking about the goals that you haven't conceded. You've had 3 clean sheets on the bounce, so is that something that the boys have been working on?
Most definitely. We've given, to be honest, over a few seasons, we've given a poor goal away during the game, especially this season. We seem to give an early goal, and it's nearly a carbon copy. We get caught out on the wing, and the ball comes in, and we're slow to react. So frustrating that we give that goal away. I don't know the stats on coming back from a goal down, but there must be hard to come back to win it from a goal down during the season. I know it's something Wayne was particularly annoyed about, that we kept giving away this goal. It's hard enough at this level anyway without giving the goal away. So to have 3 clean sheets on the bounces, you need to score goals, we know, but it's nearly as important as scoring goals the other end to keep your defence the same. And what has been noticeable, it's the first time in this is the 4th season I'm chairman, is that we've been holding more or less the same starting 11 for probably 5 or 6 games, and I think that's important as well.
Now, Radstock were the last side to beat you. And some of the managers I've spoken to have said that they're one of the teams to watch out for this season. Would you echo that?
Yeah, most definitely. I think they beat us in the Les Phillips Cup, and then we had them again a couple of weeks later, and they were a strong side. Big lads, physical in a good way, and I can't take away their wins from them. They deserve both the wins. But what I think about Sherborne is the fact that we've got a great squad. A great bunch of lads. There's a great buzz about the club, and the fact that I don't think we've seen the best of them yet. I don't think we're a long way off of seeing the best of the whole squad. And I think it was 5-0, 3-0, and 2-0. So we're getting better. Goodness knows what's coming the next game. But yeah, Radstock were the last team to beat us in the league. A strong side. On another day, we might have fared better.
Well, what about your aspirations for the team this season?
The aspirations of the whole club, and I spoke to you last season about it being a slow job with the team moving forward, with the club moving forward, and with we're building blocks. We've got to start off at the bottom with the finances of the club. We're not a wealthy club. We're never going to be wealthy. We've got a modest budget when it comes to wages. Aspirations of the club this season, I'd take the finish where we are today. 3rd from top. I'd take that tomorrow, no doubt about it. Top half was the call before the beginning of the season. We're taking it small steps at a time. What is becoming apparent about this league, that any team can beat any other team on the day. I've seen nobody we've been frightened of. I've seen nobody that's really played badly. I think we're due to play Colne on Saturday. That'll be a great test for us. They're top at the minute. But if we do get our game at Bishop Sutton's tomorrow, if the weather permits, then get the right result there, we could be top. You never know going into Saturday's game. So the aspirations really to finish in the top quarter. We'd like to be back in the FA Cup. It's a little bit grey area of what we have to do to qualify to get in the FA Cup, but that's our aspirations for this season.
Well, we'll have a chat about the upcoming games in a minute, but if you do manage to finish in the top 4 this season, of course that will secure you a promotion, quite probably back to the Toolstation Western League Premier Division. I mean, are you? How do you feel about that? Is that something that you're that you're working towards? Because next season that's going to be a very different test to the one that you found this season, not least because it will be a division that stretches from Cornwall to Wiltshire.
I think I haven't thought too much about the travelling side of it, but it is a big jump. The first season we got relegated from that division and we were way, way off the mark. We've certainly got a different outfit and a different setup and a different team now. Of course, we'd love to have a go and see how we fare in the Premier Division. Obviously, that has to be our target, to win the league. That's what we're here for. How we could actually get on once we got that far, I don't know. Bring it on. It'd be a great problem to have. I can't see that we could ever win that division, but we haven't got the finances that some of the big boys got. But we have got a lot of heart in the club, and I keep going back about the buzz within the club is unbelievable. And I still think we got, it's a slow job, and we've got a lot of better days to come. I can only see the team getting better. The squad has got a lot of depth. So, I'd love to get promoted, and I'd love to. The manager might listen to this, and he might think, "Christ, John, what are you up to?" But of course, we want to have a go. We're out to win this league. That's our target starting. Of course, it is. Every team must want to win the league, and we'll worry about what happens next season when we get there. But it is a big gap, and there are some big clubs with big budgets that we'd have to come up against. But bring it on. That's what I say.
Well, to do that, of course, you have got to beat the likes of Bishop Sutton and Cairn, which were the games that you quite rightly say that they're coming up this week. Now, they're two very different challenges, aren't they, really? And in a way, it would be sort of, there's no point beating one if you can't beat the other. Maybe that's not strictly true about Cairn, but you know what I mean. If you're going to test yourself against the best in the league, you've got to make sure that you're able to get something against one of the sides struggling down at the bottom.
Of course it is. And to be honest with you, both teams, both games are not going to be easy games. Sutton are fighting down the bottom there. And I know how that feels. And they won't be an easy side to play. A little bit of a bogey side to us down on their ground. The 4 seasons I've been, this is the 4th that I've been chairman. We've always seen the struggle there with getting the result. Probably going to be a wet pitch if the game does go ahead. So yeah, that's a hard one. The diversity of games and clubs you have to play and teams you have to play. If you're looking to win or finish in the top 3 or 4, that's the challenge of football at any level. Cairn have proved this season that I don't know exactly how long they've been up the top there, but they must be a good side. But to be fair, I think they should be wary of us. We shouldn't be worried about them. We're the team that are coming up the league. We're on a bit of a run, and long may that continue. Winning becomes a habit, and it should be a good game. I really look forward to Saturday. I think we've had a fixture change to play them. We're supposed to have played them away, and because of Les Phillips' commitment, the game was called off. So we're looking forward to playing them. We're looking forward to see how good we are. And again, if we want to achieve our aspirations, and those are teams we've got to get results against, not necessarily a win. Am I defeatist if I say I take a draw now? But let's not lose the games. Let's keep this winning run going, albeit against teams down the bottom or teams at the top. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, before I let you go, the Western League are promoting the importance of volunteering and volunteers within the league. And obviously, as club chairman, you'll be acutely aware of the importance of having people to help you on a match day, not just involved with the team, but all those other jobs as well, from publicity to catering and also looking after the pitch. So, I mean, looking at your own club, what do you think are the big challenges that Western League clubs face, and what do you think the benefits that come? I mean, you yourself obviously will give a lot of your own time to your football club. What are the benefits that you get from giving your time to Sherborne Town?
I think it's extremely rewarding. I've quoted myself as being the reluctant chairman because it wasn't a job that I particularly wanted. I had no aspirations to be chairman. Went to a meeting to decide who was going to be the chairman, and I must have stuck my arm up. I don't know what happened because I walked out chairman. I don't regret that, and I sum this up like this: it's 90% of heaven and 10% of hell. Because when the problems you get on an everyday basis, some are easily settled, some are really difficult. Good volunteers are so vital to any club. We've got some great volunteers and people that do, simplest of jobs. They might just turn up on a Monday after a match on a Saturday and empty the dustbins. But if someone's got to do that, and if it isn't done, the dustbins overflow. It might seem like a menial thing, but that person is vitally important, as important as our commercial manager. He just happens to be my son, but Sam, he's done a fantastic job. All right, he works for the family business, and he probably spends a bit too much time doing Sherborne Town work while he's at work. But he is as important and bringing in money as the guy that empties the dustbins, or the people doing the kitchens, or the people that just turn up to put a bit of paint down here and there, or to sweep up. And it is a problem to get young blood coming through. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, we've lost 3 really, really good volunteers that have passed away, and you can't replace these people. My time, well, I've retired recently, so I can give it some time, but if I was being paid about 50 grand a year, it would be about right, but I don't. I do it for love. I certainly don't want any money for doing it, but it's extremely rewarding when things go well. Just going back to, you said about being in the Premier Division, I would get as much pleasure out of maintaining ourselves and standing up in the Premier Division as a standalone team without having to fight relegation, say mid-table and being a good side to play, as much as a side that are chucking money at it and going to win the league, because we can't chuck money at it, and the finances are certainly better now than they've ever been before. But it all comes hand in hand. You say about volunteers, yes, of course they're vitally important. Couldn't survive without them. We also couldn't survive without the sponsors. We've got 2 or 3 main sponsors that are chuck considerable amount of money at the club, really, in today's standards, but they're as important as the people that sponsor a player in his home kit for 35 quid, or the people that turn up on match day, pay their entry fee, but go and have a pint or a burger or a cup of coffee. All those people are all vitally important to any club to keep the revenue coming, and it has to keep coming day on day on day, just to stand still, really. So, the volunteers are hugely important to the club.
John, thank you very much for your time. I think you probably inspired us for our next month of campaigning, and that is to celebrate the sponsors that give us the football that we all enjoy. But for now, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on this incredible run of form you're on. It's fantastic. It'll be fantastic to see when we next get a chance to catch up with you, whether you've been able to keep it up.
No problem, Ian. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Now that wraps up our look at the results over the last week in the Toolstation Western League. We'll now move on to the upcoming fixtures. We could have a look at the midweek, but we don't. Normally, because the games will probably have happened by the time you hear the podcast. On this occasion, it will probably be because they won't have happened because the weather will have cancelled them. Mm-hmm. Let's keep our fingers crossed that the weather gods are smiling on us on Saturday, November the 30th. I think they might be, but don't take my word for it. But we've got a very full fixture list to look at, Tom, and we'll start off, I think, by looking at the FA Vars third round matches.
Yeah, indeed, we've got 5 games to look forward to in the Vars. Fingers crossed for, obviously, as you say, the weather this weekend. But 4 on Saturday, and then we have 1 on Sunday as well. So Saturday afternoon we've got 3 all Western League clashes, which means we will have obviously a team getting through to the next round, which is important. So we've got Bitton versus Cribbs, we've got Bradford versus Bridgewater, we've got Tavistock versus Buckland. Those are the all Western League ties, and then also Plymouth Parkway. They're in action away at Hamworthy United on Saturday afternoon. So 7 teams in FA Vars action on Saturday, which good luck to all of them. And then on Sunday another Western League all Western League tie in the third round. We've got Roman Glass St George hosting First Division Warminster. So a cracking weekend in store for in the Vars for quite a lot of our clubs.
I suppose the positive, Tom, is that we're in a position where we know our member clubs will be progressing in this competition, but it's pretty galling that they'll be progressing at a cost to other member sides, isn't it? I mean, it's a shame really that the fixture gods have thrown up a third round in this competition where Western League sides are only playing opposition from one other league in the form of Hamworthy United. I don't know how the fans feel about that, but I do get the impression that sometimes the prospect of even travelling to far-flung places in the Peninsular League or the Hellenic League would be, or even the Wessex League, of course, would be welcome for our fans. But anyway, never mind. Those are the cards that we've been dealt. Looking at the Premier Division, we've got a fair few matches on in there. Which sides tickle your fancy?
For the Premier Division, the game that I've got my eye on, I think most of this weekend, is probably Exmouth versus Shepton. Exmouth, they've not played quite as many as some of the clubs because of a good few cup runs, but they host Shepton, and they've only conceded 6 league goals from 10 matches so far. Exmouth, so their defensive record is quite something. So if they can maintain that, there's a good chance. Obviously, they can pick up another positive result and climb that table. So keeping an eye on how Exmouth get on Saturday afternoon.
I think what's quite interesting about the Premier Division fixtures on Saturday is there's quite a few evenly matched sides.
Yeah.
I think Bridport and Cadbury Heath will be eyeing a win from that fixture, and I think Odd Down and Keynsham will also both fancy their chances there. But I think if you're looking for a competitive tie towards the top of the table, then I would go for Clevedon Town against Westbury United. Clevedon have certainly surprised me with their early season form, Tom, but Westbury, continue to be competitive at the top end of the table. They will undoubtedly be disappointed at the drop points at Hallen, and so I would expect Westbury to certainly be looking to get something from that game. I think that would be a very tight affair there. Now moving on to the First Division, and which game has caught your eye here?
There's a couple of good ones, but I think I'm picking the main one, stealing it away from you, but that would be Sherborne hosting Calne. Obviously, we've mentioned how fantastic Sherborne have been of late. 4 wins on the bounce, I think you mentioned, and they get to host the league leaders, and obviously potentially overtake them if they manage to get another 3 points. So that should be an almighty clash down there at Rallygrove on Saturday afternoon.
Well, I'd have been sorely tempted to pick out Welton Rovers against Devizes, but that's purely out of personal interest. Albeit, I would say that when I watched these two sides play earlier in the season, I've actually watched it a couple of times because the first game unfortunately got rearranged. But the second time it was highly entertaining, not necessarily for the right reasons if you were a Devizes fan. Me and my dad went into the bar at what we thought was the final whistle, only to miss the defining Welton Rovers goal. So obviously you can't take your eyes off that one for a minute. The game that I'm going to pick out though is at the opposite end of the table. Wincanton Town, who've been going well, against Radstock Town, have also been going well in the First Division. I think that'll be a highly entertaining encounter. If Radstock can put out a strong first 11 in that game, then they will obviously be hopeful of getting all 3 points. But Wincanton are no mug, so I think that'll be a highly competitive match. Now, before we wrap things up, we had a look at the league tables last week. Perhaps we can have a look at the goal scorers this week. Who's hot in the hot shots?
Yeah, why not? So a little bit of movement since we last spoke. Obviously, quite a few postponed games, but still plenty of goals flying in. So a bit of movement, as I say. Premier Division league goals only. We've got Adam Carter still well out in front. 20 league goals for Plymouth Parkway so far this season, and then a couple of chaps on 11. Now we've got Lucas Vowles of Clevedon and Gary Higdon, who's hit a purple patch of late. He's got 11 for Bradford. In the First Division, we've got James Rustall of Radstock. He's got 16 league goals. Harry Foster of Wells is on 12, and then Calne's Stuart Windsor, obviously table topping at the moment. He's got 11. So that's state of play in the First Division. And then in all competitions, we've got Jack Crago, plenty of cup goals for him, but he's got 25 in all competitions, so a fantastic first half to the season for him. Rustall of Bradstock's on 21, along with Adam Carter of Parkway. They've both got 21, and then Higdon and Foster, who we've mentioned in their league exploits, they've both got 17 goals in all competitions. So plenty of goals flying in up and down the divisions.
Excellent, Tom. Thank you very much for your time this week. And, of course, we have been reviewing your excellent bulletin. Where can the listeners find that?
That'll be on the Toolstation League website. There's a tab along the top that takes you to the most recent one where you can download it as a PDF or a Word document. So, that's there every Sunday afternoon.
Tom, it's a real pleasure to have you back. I've missed your dulcet tones, as I'm sure the listeners have as well. But anyway, from Tom and myself, you've been listening to the Toolstation Western League podcast.